Hello there, this is Virtual the Chess Noob, learning and having fun with chess. Today I've got a really fun game to show you all, and basically it's a romantic style of a game where I do some crazy, aggressive, bombastic moves, gambits, sacrifices, and somehow it works. And it does work, this style of chess, because you force your opponent on the defensive, and sometimes by making all those aggressive moves, they eventually make a mistake. Let's go have a look at this game. It's super fun. Somehow I managed to be down on material, down on evaluation for the whole game, and nonetheless have initiative the whole game and eventually the win. So, e4. And my opponent plays the Scandinavian with d5. Recently, I had a video on the Leonhardt Gambit. That's what I aim to play. So captures, queen captures back, knight forward attacking the queen. I'm hoping for queen a5, the main line. They do. Leonhardt Gambit, b4. Black pretty much should take. They do take. And now I jump my knight forward, attack on the c7 pawn, which of course potentially comes with a fork. Queen comes back to a5, very natural. They wanted to go there in the first place. And now bishop forward, potentially looking at that pawn. Now the queen trap is hoping for the opponent to play c6. Now that's a very normal move in the Scandinavian, because potentially allows the queen to come back potentially to one of these two squares. And however, if they play that move, I've got captures, sacrifice the bishop, they take, the queen now comes to h5 with check, also on the same rank as the opponent queen. Let's say they play this move, that is now a check, discovered attack on the queen, queen trap, brilliant fun. Now in this game, my opponent knew that something was up with these two moves, and they thought a while. Look at the clocks. I've barely spent any time. They spent quite a long time with each move, and they eventually decided they needed to block that light square diagonal. That wasn't necessarily the most accurate move, but it's still a fine move. So black is technically ahead here. Upper point of material. The best move was probably knight to f6. Normal developing move, also defends against the queen going to h5. Here, I decide, okay, I'll just develop. And this is, of course, one of the ideas behind opening gambits. You've traded material here, the b pawn, doesn't matter too much, but you get a massive advantage in development. They now develop that bishop. That was actually a mistake, and we're back to 0, 0, 0. But their upper point of material, 0, 0, 0 in this context means my position is substantially better. I now decide to do something very aggressive again, very provocative, jump the knight forward with a potential attack. So I wasn't sure what I could do, but I thought, maybe I could take it this way and then potentially still have the check. That's what I was thinking. They developed the knight, which of course doesn't make that possible. So short castles. They short castles. So now potentially time to attack the king's position. One of the good things with the Leonhardt, open b file. Bishop to b2, now looking at their knight on f6. So potentially looking to remove it. If I capture, they'll have to take back, and then open g-file castled. Very, very good for me, potentially with my queen in those positions. They saw that, thought for a while, look at the time, they're almost down 10 minutes now. They really needed to defend the knight with the bishop. However, they opted to move the knight out of the way. You can see that's a mistake. I now have an advantage. However, I don't care about positional advantages. I'm going to go for the attack. Queen to h5. Now they call this a blunder because I had potentially a better move. However, in this position, black must play very, very accurately. Of course, there's a mate in one threat here. No defenders around the king. They have to find the move. Now, they did find it. It's not hard to see this one, which is h6. And here I decide time to sacrifice. Bishop captures pawn on g7. Brilliant move. They take back, of course. And here, looking like I'm hanging another piece, take my knight. Bishop to d3. Stockfish hates it. You know, Blacks is completely winning here apparently. But can they, you know, not be greedy and take the knight? You know, my opponent's in the 1300s. It's so tempting. Looks like it's hanging. It's a trap! They take. That is a blunder. In fact, mate in 3. They needed to not take that piece and move their knight to attack my queen. Now here, unfortunately, I had a bit of tunnel vision because I thought if they could take, I'll move my queen here, and I thought, is there a mating net? Maybe there's a mating net there, but I didn't actually calculate it carefully. What I should do in this position is queen captures that pawn with check. That forces the king back. They've got no other move controlling all those squares, and then hunt the king with the queen, check. King has only one square, and mate. Devastating win. Unfortunately, I had the tunnel vision, as I said, so I in fact played queen to h7, which was a blunder because I had a win, and now the problem is the king can potentially escape. So king in that position, check. King now escapes, captures, check. King is safe. Consider the king castled and ended up back on e8. So my opponent now is up +5 of material, but I have the initiative. You know, these pieces are all bound up. I play a rook to e1. I did think about this for a while. I wasn't sure what was the best move. So apparently playing this move is the best. And the idea here, of course, is that if that knight moves, then I have potentially a check and still the queen trap. So I still have all these dynamic pins and traps here, which really binds up Black's position. They may be completely winning according to Stockfish, but for a human, really hard to play. 14 minutes left versus my 23. So here, with this rook move, I've pinned their pawn, so this knight is now hanging. They thought for quite a while, and they decided that they will defend against the queen trap by playing that knight to defend. You can see Stockfish didn't quite agree with that. They wanted to bring the bishop back, which of course negates that pin. That's a very clever move. They didn't see it. So, hanging knight, I take, and I take the knight. They move the king forward, seeing, potentially, maybe captures, and here I move the queen to g5 with a check. They move the king again, trying to move it to the king so they avoid a check, because remember, if I can give a check with my knight, potentially the queen trap's still there. So I move my queen forward, decide to abandon that. They've only got 3 minutes left now. Here, I couldn't really see how to advance, so I decided to move my knight back, maybe rotating somewhere, somehow, if there is their attack. That's what I'm thinking. I thought, look, I've got 19 minutes left. I can make this work. They decide to push a pawn. Okay, potentially avoiding a pin in that direction. I suppose that makes sense. And here, I straight up actually hang that bishop. This was an error of continuity. So in my sort of thinking, I thought, look, for some reason, I thought that pawn was pinned to the king. So I thought, okay, look, let's just bring the bishop there. I can take. And as soon as I made that move, I realized, oh, wait a minute. That is not pinned. And in fact, that can just take. However, I think for my opponent, they've been so spooked by my aggressive attacks, by my audacious sacrifices, which seem to allow me to maintain the initiative. They lost their nerve and they didn't take my bishop. They decided to move their queen around here first. I thought, well, if they're going to do that, I am going to literally sacrifice another piece. Rook captures pawn, okay, defending that bishop. And so here they decide, all right, let's take the rook, which of course now means the bishop is defended. I now move my knight forward, attacking the queen. I've got a minute left. And here they make a one-move blunder, trying to attack the queen, but queen takes. And now I am completely winning. A minute left. They make another move. hang their queen, capture the queen with under a minute.
Emotional damage!
Emotional damage, and they opt to resign. What an amazing game. GG. My big takeaway from this game is to not underestimate the psychological impact of aggressive attacks, visible traps, and piece sacrifices, especially those which damage the opponent's king's defenses. The psychological brinksmanship and also the cognitive difficulty of navigating challenging positions are factors which are usually not estimated and reported by the computer engine. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.